I better be ready. I have a little point at me. I'm chewing fast now. That's good. Controlling this last bite, but here I go. Just to rush them along. Uh-huh. Live dangerously. Expressing wholeness in the face of adversity? No. Through adversity, not in the face of, through. No. Because we're all going to have some adversity. How the hell are we going to learn? We could try to learn without it, but we tend to get distracted. So adversity comes our way to remind us. Because we're all going to have some. We have a greater goal. Adversity. How the hell are we going to learn? We could try to learn without it, but we tend to get distracted. So adversity comes our way to remind us. Because we're all going to have some. We have a greater goal. All righty. Welcome, welcome. Yay! Unity Temples, Unity Temples, Sunday Spiritual Wellness Service. And here we go, because we do need to take this time at the very minimum. This is my minimum. At least have to hit my minimum in the week of getting my time in to sink into Sunday Spiritual Wellness Service. And here we go, because we do. Yeah, that's me in there. Yeah, look, I'm on delay. At the very minimum. Yeah, we got audio. This is my minimum. Yeah, we got audio going. Okay, good. We are live with audio and visual. Woohoo! We think we are. We're hoping. Yeah, that's me. All righty. So we're on Sunday, March 22nd. Yeah, we got audio. And the daily word is wholeness. Okay, good. We are. Wholeness is the unshakable, eternal truth of me. Wholeness. We think we are. We're hoping. It is comforting to remember, no matter what may happen to me in the world. I am always whole. The daily word is whole. No matter what, I might be a little broken, but I'm. You can put me back. All the pieces are there. Unshakable, eternal. And I am always whole. Even during times of illness or insufficiency, my true nature is of divine wholeness. I am always whole. Divine wholeness. Worldly situations will always be in a state of flux. And boy, are they. I am always whole. Even during times of illness, changing and shifting in ways that I cannot control. Sometimes even imagine. I am always like what? Divine wholeness. What happened? I do what I can do to tend to my health and other material needs, but I do not worry over things I cannot control. Changing and shifting I do not worry over things I cannot control. Instead, I rely upon my prayer life and other spiritual practices to claim my wholeness. I do what I can do. This is the enduring truth of who I am, whole and complete, regardless of any outside circumstances or appearances. Instead, I rely upon my prayer life and other spiritual regardless of any outside circumstances or appearances. How liberating it is to know that I am secure in God and complete at all times, spiritually perfect, outside circumstances or appearances, and infinitely blessed. From Colossians chapter 2, verse 9 through 10. For in him the whole fullness of deity dwells bodily, spiritually perfect. Say, for in her the whole fullness of deity dwells bodily, and you have come to fullness in him, who is the head of every ruler and authority. For in him the whole come to fullness of deity dwells, who is the head of every ruler and authority. Say, for in her the whole fullness of deity. So that's good thing to work with. And we have Brooklyn Quist today, who will be talking about wholeness. And her talk will be wholeness through adversity. Close enough? Close enough. She has a longer title to it, but I got the key words through, not in the face of. Wholeness. She'll be talking about wholeness through adversity. And anyway, I will now read our statement of belief. We can all say this together because I think we all know it. There is but one presence and one power but I got in the all the universe, God, the good, omnipotent. And now Brooke will come up and do our meditation, and then we'll have our Peace on the Inside song, and then we'll have the message. There is but one presence and one power but I got in the all the universe, God, the good, omnipotent. And now Brooke will come up and do our meditation.
So I invite us all into a time of meditation.
And then we'll have the message.
Let your eyes gently close down. Invite in your breath.
God, the good,
Deep breath in.
And now Brooke will come up.
Exhale, let it go. So I invite us all into a time of meditation.
And then we'll have the message.
Inhale, breathe in love.
Invite
Let that sink down into your core, that love, that divine love that you are, that you embody.
Let it go.
So I invite us all into a time of meditation. And exhale anything that does not serve you in this moment. Let that sink down into inhale into your wholeness, divine love that you recognizing that you are whole. You are completely whole and perfect just as you are. You don't have to change one single thing about yourself to be completely whole and perfect. Recognizing that you are whole. And as we recognize that we are that spark of the divine, we know you don't have to change one single thing about yourself to be that we are holy. That we embody self-love, recognize that we are that spark of the divine, that we are not diminished, that we are fully embodied in spirit, that we embody self-love, that we live fully present in this moment, that we are not diminished, and that we are filled with the love that is available to us in any moment. That we embody self-love, that we live fully present. Let that settle on your hearts. That we are not diminished. As you know that any outside circumstances cannot touch the wholeness that you are in any moment. The divine spark that you are. The truth of who you are. Let that settle on your hearts. And as your feet are firmly planted in the ground, let that knowing, let that truth, let that love flow that you are up through your legs. The truth of who you are. Let that settle on your heart. Gently, softly. And as your feet are firmly planted in the ground, feel the breath flowing. Let that truth, let that love flow that you are up through your legs. The truth of who you are. As your seat gently is pressed into your chair, let the breath swirl in through your pelvis. Feel the breath flowing as you continue to breathe in your divine self up through your legs. As your seat, the breath moves into your belly, chair. As you recognize your power, your strength, your truth, as you continue to breathe in your divine self. As the breath courses its way up into your torso, the breath moves. You know you are never alone, for spirit resides within you, your strength, and around you and everywhere. As the breath courses, as the breath moves up into your chest, you know we are all one. You know you are never alone, and that gives us courage. Spirit resides within you, your strength, and around you. The breath moves down into your arms. and up into your throat, into your throat chakra, giving you the courage to speak your truth in any moment. And that gives us courage. Spirit resides within you and around you, and up into your head, your arms, and out through your crown chakra, and up into your throat, into your throat chakra, giving you the courage to speak where we connect with the divine in any moment, the divine that is us. And up into your head, we recognize our wholeness, and out through your crown chakra. And for this, we are so grateful. Into your throat chakra, giving you the courage to speak where we connect with the divine in any moment, the divine that breathe into this stillness, and up into your head, allowing for a few breaths the stillness to surround us. For this, we are so grateful. Where we connect with the divine in any moment, the divine that breathe into this stillness, and up into your head, allowing for a few breaths the stillness to surround us. For this, we are so grateful. Where we connect with the divine in any moment, the divine that breathe into this stillness, and up into your head, allowing for a few breaths the stillness to surround us. For this, we are so grateful. Where we connect with the divine, noticing the love that flows within and all around, in this room, between each and every one of us, feeling the gratitude and the light, noticing the love that flows and the wholeness within and without and all around, and so it is. Each and every one of us, feeling the gratitude and the light, noticing the love that flows within and without.
Has the world gone crazy, or is it me? Am I seeing the truth, or is crazy using me? Do I stand and fight? Do I run and hide? Please, God, won't you help me find peace? Do I stand and fight? Do I run and hide? Please, well, the light knows nothing of the darkness, like the rain knows nothing of a drought, but they're held in perfect balance, in perfect time and perfect place. Well, but God knows nothing of darkness, like the rain knows nothing of a drought, but they're held in perfect balance. Let it be me. Let me be still in peace and clarity. Let it be all in unity, as in heaven, so on earth. See the peace that love intends. Well, the news hammers away at conflict. They like to hammer away at strife. If I let it twist me up inside, then I've surely lost the fight. I need to keep my head in a race that can only be won by singing the glory of God and divinity. I need to keep each one, because love knows nothing of hatred. So when we choose our place, let it be a place where peace abides, so we don't lose our way. Let's keep our heads and move in grace. Please, God, won't you help us find peace inside? Peace on the inside, peace on the outside, love on the inside, love on the outside, peace.
This life, this beautiful, sacred, unpredictable life always involves change. Some changes we welcome with open arms: a new relationship, a long-awaited promotion, a grandbaby, a new home, a dream vacation. These changes feel expansive. They feel like evidence that life is working in our favor. But other changes arrive without invitation: a diagnosis, a job loss, a betrayal, a fire, a divorce, the death of someone we love. And when these changes come, it can feel like the ground beneath us has given way, like something solid has disappeared, like life, which once felt manageable, has become unrecognizable. In these moments, it is very difficult to recognize any spiritual teaching. It is hard to affirm anything. Thank you. It is hard to stay positive, to believe that growth is possible when we feel shattered. It's hard to remember that we are whole. But unity teaches that God is not the author of tragedy. Spirit does not send illness or loss or disaster to teach us lessons or to test us. And unity also reminds us that there is no place where God is not. There is no experience outside divine presence, which means this: even in our most painful moments, we are not abandoned. Even in adversity, there is an invitation. Adversity is not sent to break us. It is allowed to awaken us. It strips away illusion. It clarifies what matters. It reveals who we truly are beneath the roles and identities we cling to. It calls forth spiritual capacities we didn't know we possessed. It helps us recognize that we are whole. In fact, adversity amplifies our wholeness. And while we would never volunteer for many of the experiences we go through, when we look back months or years later, we often discover that our most difficult seasons were also our most transformative. This past year has been that kind of a season for me. As you know, my mom died last January, 2 weeks after my dog died, and 2 months after I lost my aunt, who was like my second mom. And when my mom died, I truly felt like my world was ending. Yeah, The pain was not just emotional, it was physical. I felt like I had a ton of bricks in my chest. I was just weighed down with the grief. And my mind was scrambled. I couldn't remember a thing people told me. I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't work. I didn't want to talk to anyone. Even kind and loving messages of support felt overwhelming. I wanted to crawl into a hole and disappear. Ashley Davis Bush describes this first phase of shock as grief as shock, a stunned disbelief that this could actually be happening. And that was exactly where I lived. 3 days before my mom died, we had gone out to Jason's Deli, where she had been over the moon about a chocolate chip cookie. And then we had gone back to her memory care facility, where she had starred in the chicken dance in the middle of the circle. How could she be gone? Grief destroys the illusion of control. It shatters the version of ourselves that believed life would just continue as expected. It exposes how fragile everything is. But here is what I discovered, slowly, imperfectly, and sometimes reluctantly. While grief broke my heart, it also opened me. It made me recognize my wholeness. And that is one of the great spiritual paradoxes. When we stop resisting what is, when we allow ourselves to feel what we feel, something deeper begins to emerge. Not right away, and it's not pretty, but it happens slowly. Today, I want to explore 4 spiritual gifts that adversity can bring. Not because pain is good, but because spirit is powerful. Gift number 1, adversity clarifies what matters. When life is comfortable, it's easy to go on autopilot. We assume there will always be more time, more conversations, more ordinary Tuesdays. We build our days around tasks and deadlines and errands. We get busy, we get distracted, and we forget how precious and fragile life really is. Loss removes that illusion. Suddenly, what matters becomes startlingly clear. Love matters. Presence matters. Integrity matters. Connection matters. Time matters. After my dad's business burned down in 1979, completely destroyed by a warehouse fire, he could have collapsed under the weight of it. Everything he had built was gone overnight. But instead of letting the fire define him, he let it help refine his priorities. For months, he carried around a yellow legal pad and asked himself the question, what do I want my life to look like now? He realized that his deepest value was his family, and he also wanted to work for himself again. He wanted to provide for us, yes, but he also wanted to be present with us. So he rebuilt his career in a way that eventually allowed him to once again work for himself and be there when we got home from school. He was able to mentor CU students and other young people, which was a passion of his. The fire clarified his priorities. Just total side note here. When Dad came home the night after the fire, he got a huge gift from my mom, and that was the gift of laughter. My mom had told my younger brother Rob and me about the fire that morning. At 9 years old, I was appropriately sad and worried about my dad. And as a 7-year-old, Rob heard the news and thought about it for a minute and then said, "Great! I didn't have anything for show and tell at school today, and now I do." The levity gave my dad just what he needed. Unity teaches that our life is an expression of divine order. Sometimes that order is not visible to us while we are inside the experience. But when something falls away, it often reveals what was not in alignment. It helps us claim our wholeness. In my own grief, I let go of having to get everything done. What once felt urgent no longer did. Being fully present with people mattered more to me than checking things off a list. Depth mattered more than busyness. Adversity forces us to ask, who am I becoming now? What truly matters now? What am I no longer willing to postpone, and what can I get rid of? And that clarity is a gift. It is a piece of our wholeness. Gift number 2, adversity deepens our spiritual awareness. Pain exposes our false self and enables us to find out who we truly are. We construct identities around roles: daughter, mother, professional, caregiver, partner, around routines and predictability, around the assumption that things will stay as they are. And when those structures collapse, it can feel like we too are collapsing. But what if what is collapsing is not our true self, but our attachment to the roles we have been adhering to? Unity reminds us that we are not merely human beings navigating random circumstances. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Our true identity is not defined by roles or relationships. It is rooted in divine life itself. When my mom died, the identity of daughter who goes out to lunch with my mom on Tuesdays disappeared. And you guys, I loved that role. I treasured it. Without it, I was alone, unhinged. I felt like I was floating out in space. But in the floating, I had to go inward in a way I never had before. I had to sit in silence. I had to feel without fixing or being fixed. I had to let go of the illusion that I could control outcomes. And in the letting go, I began to sense something deeper. Not happiness and not relief, but presence. A quiet steadiness beneath the sadness. A subtle awareness that I was being held even while I was breaking. That is the Christ consciousness within, the indwelling spirit that remains when everything else changes. And how beautiful to recognize this spiritual truth. Sometimes we skim the surface of our spiritual life when things are going smoothly. We pray quickly, we affirm casually, we attend services but remain guarded or disconnected or a little checked out. But adversity asks us to go deeper. It cracks open the shell. It drives us inward, not in isolation, but in search of something that cannot be taken away. And what we find there is more profound than circumstance. We find our true essence, our connection to spirit, the oneness that is alive and compassionate and sacred. We know we are not alone, and it is like coming home in a deep and true way. And that oneness, that connection is directly connected to the wholeness that we are. Gift number three. Adversity expands our capacity for love and service. The Dalai Lama said, "The way through sadness and grief that comes from great loss is to use it as motivation to generate a deeper sense of purpose." Pain can turn us inward in isolation, or it can open us outward in compassion. Malala Yousafzai was 15 years old when she was shot in the head by the Taliban for advocating for girls' education. The act was meant to silence her. Instead, it amplified her voice. After months of surgeries and rehabilitation, part of her skull was actually removed and later reconstructed. She stood before the United Nations on her 16th birthday and spoke not of revenge, but of education and forgiveness. She said, "I do not hate the Talib who shot me." That is not denial. That is spiritual power. She refused to allow violence to dictate her values or affect her sense of who she is. Adversity expanded her capacity for courage, clarity, and service. Her motto was and is one child, one teacher, one book, one pen can change the world. Research now confirms what spiritual teachers have long known. When we engage in compassionate action, when we serve, our stress decreases, our sense of meaning increases, and we experience what researchers call the helper's high. Acts of kindness release endorphins and oxytocin, literally shifting our internal chemistry toward peace. Unity says when we express love, we align with our true nature, with our wholeness. In my own grief, one of the turning points came when I stopped asking, "How do I get through this?" And I started asking, "Who else is hurting that I can sit with?" I was ready, finally, to get back to my therapy and spiritual direction practices. I was anxious to get back to my volunteer work. I wanted to give back. Giving to others did not erase my grief, but it transformed my relationship to it. Instead of being consumed by my pain, I could allow it to make me gentler, softer, more attuned. It helped me get out of my head and focus on others. Pain became compassion, and compassion became purpose. This was the driving force that enabled me to move forward in my grief journey. Being of service to others was like a balm to my soul. Just as mentoring CU students helped my dad recover from the fire, and setting up the Malala Fund for girls around the world has helped Malala to continue to heal. It is in healing that we find the wholeness that we are. Gift number 4. Adversity reveals strength we didn't know we had. None of us signs up for loss. But when we walk through it one breath at a time, we discover something astonishing. We are stronger than we imagined. Unity teaches about the 12 powers, spiritual capacities inherent within us: strength, faith, love, wisdom, power, understanding, order, zeal, and more. These are not qualities we import from outside ourselves. They are alive within us. These 12 powers are part of what makes us whole, and adversity activates them further. When the future feels uncertain, faith rises. When we feel weak, strength emerges. When resentment tempts us, love stretches us. And when confusion clouds us, understanding deepens. We do not develop these capacities in comfort, although we're always aware that they're present within us. But when we are challenged, we discover they are powerful tools to help us spiritually and connect on a deeper level. Looking back over this year, I see perseverance I didn't know I had. I see resilience. I see courage in small daily acts, like getting out of bed, answering messages, showing up. I see my wholeness when at first I saw only brokenness. Not because I was trying to be inspirational, but because life required growth. And growth answered, not in one fell swoop, but in baby steps, in my desire to show up for others, to be of service and to connect to my divine self in a way I never had before. So how do we connect adversity and wholeness? Robert Brummett, former Director of Ministries and Leadership at Unity World Headquarters, says, "True wholeness occurs only when we are willing to use our experience of suffering as an opportunity to reevaluate our deepest beliefs and ultimately our lives." In exploring the gifts of adversity, we recognize that this is exactly what we are doing. Not by pretending it doesn't hurt, not by rushing to affirmations while suppressing tears, but by practicing conscious response. First, allow the process. Grief has no timeline. Growth is not linear. There are days of clarity and days of falling apart, and both are holy. Give yourself the time you need and avoid comparing your experience to anyone else's. Second, ask a better question. Instead of why is this happening to me, ask what is this inviting me to become? How am I being asked to grow? More patient? More authentic? Listen to the guidance from Spirit and allow what shows up to be your truth. Third, activate a spiritual power intentionally. Name it and claim it. Today I call forth strength. Today I choose faith. Today I practice love. Be proactive in your choice of how to show up spiritually. And finally, shift towards service when you're ready. Not as bypass, not to avoid grief, but as expansion, as a way to fill your heart and to give back the love you have experienced, to deepen your connections, to come back to life. Ashley Davis Bush describes this later phase of grief called transcendence, when we integrate the loss and move forward, changed but not destroyed. Whole. Transcendence is not forgetting, it is becoming. We do not get to choose every chapter of our lives, but we do get to choose the consciousness with which we live. Adversity will come to all of us. This is not pessimism, it is reality. The question is not whether we will face difficulty. The question is, who will we become because of it? Will we contract or will we expand? Will we be bitter or will we grow deeper? Nothing is wasted in the spiritual life. Not grief, not love, not loss, not fire, not heartbreak. Spirit uses it all if we are willing. If we are willing to allow pain to clarify us, if we are willing to let loss deepen us, if we are willing to let hardship expand our love, if we are willing to discover a strength within us that comfort never required, if we are willing to recognize and celebrate our wholeness. Adversity is not proof that Spirit has left us. It is often the place where we meet Spirit most honestly. We were never being punished. We were never being abandoned. We were being invited into a larger life, a truer self, a deeper love, into wholeness. And when we accept that invitation, we discover something extraordinary. We were never being broken. We were being opened. And so it is. Sorry. How much more? I can do.
Unless you got more. Unless Brooke, if anything, just come right back up if he's like, ooh, 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 I want to add. Because we can add. I keep on thinking of something I had to work through the last couple of years, as I had family members going through some very difficult times and were, quite frankly, intent on destroying me for a while. And I remember reading is that Buddhist quote, and I work with it a lot, so I brought it up here before. Attachment is the root of all suffering. And you think of this Buddhist ideal as detaching from pretty much everything, detaching from your family, even not so much that you don't love them, but you're not attached to their outcomes. And attachment is the root of all suffering. And it just became apparent what I can't fully detach from, and you don't want to, and that's where the adversity comes in. How do you work with it it's like, what am I supposed to learn? And can I learn it really fast here? As I detach from things that I held important to me, and as you were talking at the end, I was thinking of the attachments we have and thinking of my teenage attachments. We attach to all sorts of stuff when we're teenagers. Very attached to our looks, very attached to our clothes, very attached to our favorite shoes, very attached to all these things. And I had sisters, and my younger sister, who is 14 months younger than me, she was a borrower. And not only was she going to borrow your stuff, odds are she was going to ruin it. In one outing, she was going to ruin it. And she borrowed my prom dress because junior prom was a week before senior prom. And borrowed my prom dress because she liked it and it fit. And now she's shorter than me and she wore high heels. And we were in New Orleans where, weddings, proms, nothing ends at the end of the event. Then you go down to the French Quarter and you stroll around. And it's New Orleans, so odds are it rained. And it's the French Quarter, which is 500 years old. So, it's got accumulated dirt. And she took the shoes off because they got uncomfortable. So now the dress is dragging 3 inches. It is dragging on the ground. There was no healing that dress. It was so bad. She borrowed my favorite purse once that you would take to little prom things, and her mascara opened up inside of it. So attachment was the root of all suffering during my teenage years. And as I grew, you'd start to let go of things. And she helped. We had to let go of a lot. You call her and say, where's that shampoo I bought? My new shampoo. Oh, you said I could try it. Yes, where is it? I took it with me. What part of try it and taking it with you overlapped? So anyway, and you just had to learn, and it made me mad. I'm very mad at her a lot. But she helped you detach from things. And as I continue to grow up, in my 60s, I continue to grow up and let go of these things. And I have less adversity. But when the adversity does hit, it's big now because these are things you can't detach from, these important relationships. And you can sort of detach from parts of it, but you can't detach from all of it. And it's work. It's spiritual work to find your place again with it. And I'm glad I've detached from the prom dress and and the favorite little purse and all those little things. And I still like those sorts of things. I still like my red tennis shoes. But I don't think I'm as attached to them as I used to be to different things. So anyway, thank you for that talk. And as I continue to work on attachment is the root of all suffering, what is my attachment to things? What can I detach from to lessen the little adversities? There's a lot of little, you could be stressed out a lot with little attachments and little adversities. It's like, you ruined that. And I liked that shirt. Between me and the grandbaby and our love of chocolate, I'm afraid there's a couple of shirts that have Darn it. Can't wear white around either one of us. And so, but there's the big attachments. And there's still things we can let go of to avoid, adversity. And then I think as we let go of it, we realize our wholeness doesn't include these little things. Our wholeness just becomes very consolidated, and I've appreciated that. So anyway, thank you for the talk. It was food for thought. And what's funny is I think Karen could come up and have different food for thought, and Ivalu can come up. Everybody brings their listening to their experiences. And that is a beautiful thing, because I'm sure everybody heard something slightly different. I didn't whip out my phone and take notes, but I almost did. But it always feels like, oh, she's going, why is she on her phone? I'm taking notes. So anyway, and now welcome to Unity again. We've been here for 105 years. 102 years, people. This has been a place of spiritual wellness. And we are very thankful, and we try not to be too attached, because we're going to let ourselves grow as we need to grow. Anyone who wants to join us, we love having volunteers, of which we have some good volunteers, and you can volunteer in person. Anything from tidying up and hanging decorations after taking them down. We still have some Christmas ones for some reason that on the upper staircase that we have to work on. As we got the bunnies up for Easter, I noticed. And you can also volunteer in any way you want if you need to volunteer online. But also supporting this organization, there's different ways to give. The newfangled way is to give through Zelle or PayPal or Venmo at unitytempleofdenver@gmail.com. And that's why most people are giving now. They whip out their phones. But we do have old school people. We actually have the old school velvet bags. And if people raise their hand and say, I need the velvet bag, I can come by with the velvet bag. We do that. But I'd like to do our giving and offertory statement now. We can say it together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have and all that I give and all that I receive. It's been such a good one for me to remind me of the flow of things. That and Ivalu, she somehow reminds me of the flow of things. And joy. I learned that joy is a core element of her spirituality. And I was like, oh, that's a good one. I need the joy. Yes. And now we gather up and sing a little song. Is that okay, Ivalu? You don't have anybody else want to give a word? You're a hunky. Sure. It went shorter last week. I didn't know I was. Oh, we went. It's okay. It's all good. We don't talk too much. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With Spirit as Creator, family all are we. Let us walk with our family in perfect harmony. I don't know where I went. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. The light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Amen. Happy Sunday. Thank you, Brooke. You are so welcome. Yay. I felt like you. No, it was perfect. Thank you. I didn't know it was supposed to go till quarter. Oh, no. It's just like
everyone's different and
yes,
you know,
yeah, and
it's fine.
and sometimes we need you to ensure because I believe that one said. I believe it's the spirit in her, and she can hold on, here I come.
Okay.
So it all works out.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, it's one thing we've been around for the last couple of years worrying about stuff. This sort of stuff.
Yeah, we're detaching from being perfect.
I know, but that's why she'll help me because she wants it to go almost an hour.
Okay.
But I can do it up.
Okay. Well, you did it.
Yes.
Yes, Mark.
Well, then, because I mean, I've been through adversity.
Here we go.